What I've got here today is some stairs, and what I'm going to show you, not so much the stairs today, but these have a rail and a grab rail on one side of the stairs, but the other side is flush to a wall on a building. So what we're doing is just what I call a wall mount rail. So it'll just be a simple rail that has a little 12-inch piece here. It has a bend, goes up, bends again, and then has a straight piece at the top. So by code, you're supposed to have 12 inches extending past the top and bottom of your treads. So the way I figure that, and I don't have my good camera with me, so I'm just using a GoPro. I won't be able to zoom in, but what I'm trying to show you is this is the stringer, and you can see the treads here. So there's a construction line I've got here drawn through CAD, and basically what I do, this is the top of your platform. I measure from the top here, which is actually a step, because this is your platform, so that's your last step up onto the platform, and then you've got 6 3/8 equal numbers on these 4 treads. So what I'll do is you'll hear me say bend to bend. That bend to bend number is from here all the way down to the concrete, not this last step, but I'll use this imaginary line here, and I'll measure from right here at the platform all the way down until my tape measure hits this concrete. This is the concrete down here where your stringer is going to actually land. And so my bend to bend, if I run my tape measure, I just basically lay the tape measure just like this, and I'll run it all the way down, and boop, and it hits the concrete, and I stop, and then I get my dimension up here. So I've already got these, and I've got one made. I've got, let's see how many of these I gotta do. So I got a bunch of writing. You may not be able to see all this. I got a bunch of writing on the back of this paper, but this is the one I've got one of these done. So I've got a left and a right of this one, this platform, and I've already got one made. So what I'm gonna do now is show you how I figure the numbers. I've got this dimension here, same thing, just measure from the concrete all the way up to your platform. And that dimension was 77. So I've got a left and a right, 77 inches, bend to bend, B to B. And this angle here, which is the same angle as these, I've got 32.62, but I just make it 32.5. I don't worry about the 0.62. You'll never see that. So just to make it even, 32.5. And so I'll use that same angle on these wall mount rails. So I've got a left and a right of that to make. Then I've got one left hand 50-inch bend to bend, one left hand 64-inch bend to bend. Now, what you do have to do, you can't just mark it at 77 and bend your 32.5. So what we're actually doing is I'll actually make a 90-degree turn into the wall. So you'll actually have a 90-degree turn, and then it'll actually bend and go up that 32.5. So this here is my 12-inch extension piece. So I mean, we've done, in order to get these numbers, I had to do a lot of testing. So you kind of have to learn, but I'm giving it to you here. In order to get that 12-inch extension and dead into the wall, because you can't have a gap. So imagine this is your wall. By code, you can't have a big gap in here that somebody can get their hand stuck in, some kid can stick their head in or something like that. So we make that 90-degree turn and then cap it off with these little round caps. So we cut these out on the plasma table. This goes on the end of our 1¼ inch Schedule 40 pipe, and that caps it off. It gets nice and grinded smooth, and that goes right here on the end of this piece here. So in order to get this, we use 16 inches, 12 for this and another 4 to make this, but you'll see in just a minute, a lot of that gets cut off. But in order to have enough sticking through the tubing bender, in order to grab and pull it and bend it, these are just the numbers we figured out worked. Like I said, it took us a little bit to get that. We had to do some testing, and that's been years ago that we did that, and we just make notes of everything and keep it in a book. So 16 inches is your number. So then you're gonna come up here, make another bend, and 90 into the wall. So this is not three-dimensional. I'm drawing it flat, but that would actually be going straight into the wall if you're looking at it from a side view. So hopefully that makes sense. But what I also have to do in order to get your bends right in the middle, here and here, I add 3/4 of an inch. And so basically what that does, that puts the line, the bend line, 3/4 of an inch away from the center. So that way the center of my bend, to get this 77 bend to bend, I add 3/4 of an inch. So my total number was, I wrote it down somewhere, 110.5. 77 plus 1.5 inches, that gives you 78.5. Then you add 32, and that gives you 110.5. So once again, 77 plus your 1.5 inches for your 3/4 and 3/4, that gives you 78.5. Then you're going to take 16 here and 16 here. What I need to do is get a freaking dry erase board and make it a lot bigger so you can see this. I may do another video so you can see that. But you've got 3/4 you added here, 3/4 here, so that makes this total 78.5, but your center to center will be 77. Then you take 16 and 16, that's 32, add that to your 78.5, and it gives you 110.5. So now we've got our piece cut. This is 110.5. And the next thing is, on this schedule 10, schedule 40 pipe, whatever you're using, there's a really bad weld seam. And so we try to, instead of having to waste time grinding that, we always try to face that either against a wall where nobody will see it, or it'll face down. You know, if this is a top rail on a side piece where you can't turn it left or right, we always try to face it down. And same thing on any of the bottom rails, pickets, etc. We try not to have anything facing out where you see it. So that kind of comes into play. So you have to be careful where that seam is. And what I'm gonna do, go back to the drawing and the 16 inches I told you. I'm gonna come from each end. And mark 16 inches. You can use chalk or Sharpie. Those little silver pencils I've got, but I've never had good luck with them. I tend to use Sharpie most of the time. When I'm doing layouts and stuff, I'll use chalk so I can erase it if something's not right. So that's one side. We'll come on this side and do the same thing. Mark it at 16. So on this first one, on the first bend here, I'm gonna go flush. So this is my 16-inch section. You can see my 16-inch mark there with my Sharpie. The first bend is gonna be flush, and you can see right here, this is what I was talking about. You've gotta have enough. You can't just make your cuts, you know, short and to the certain bend. You've gotta have extra to cut off. And that's for this hook here, which is on your die. You have to have enough in there, and I'm gonna go flush. Flush works, just so you know, you don't have to have a bunch sticking out. And I'm gonna go flush there, and then I'm gonna look at my get that flush, and then I'll figure out where my seam is, because my seam needs to be pointing away, because that bend is gonna go this way, which means the wall will be over there. And then I'll show you how you make it a left or right. That's determined by which way you make your next turn. So I've got it flush, my seam's facing away from me, and that's all I need to worry about right now. I've got this set to 90 degrees with a 9.5 spring back. If you haven't seen my spring back video, I did one a while back, it's been a pretty good while, regarding this tubing bender. This is a Bailey RMD 250. We used to have a 125, I wish I still had it. I'm bad about getting rid of stuff just to make more room, because we're in such a small shop, and I wish I still had it, because that was actually a really good machine. But stepped up to this one. It's a little more automated. or not automated, but yes, it's sort of automated. You can do automated or automatic or manual, but this one has a big rotary table, which of course I don't have hooked up anymore because we don't have any room. But so this is the RMD 250, and I don't know the capacities. I want to say it's 2.5. I don't have dies for 2.5. I think the biggest die I've got is a 2-inch tubing, 1.5-inch pipe, and a 1.25-inch pipe, and maybe a 1-inch tubing. I can't remember. I did some brush guards for a company years ago, and that's the reason I've got those tubing dies. We don't do a lot of tubing. Most of our stuff handrails, but so I've got it set to 90 and 90.5. Once again, this is something you have to do test on. We've actually got a little sticky note here that's got 90 and 32 because that's something we do a lot of, and then we'll be doing some 30s on these as well, but these are actually 32.5. So anyway, got 90 and 90.5. I'm flush. I'm got my seam facing away from me, and WD-40, I keep it here, just squirt a little bit in there. It just helps it slide. What you want to do is make sure when you're turning this doesn't get caught on this piece, because it'll flip your stand over really quick. What I'm going to do is slide that through, get it close to my mark there. I see that, and then we'll figure out which way we need to go. I'm going to go ahead and set this so I don't forget. 32.5 and 7.5. Once again, if you want to see about spring back, what that is basically just the fact that the metal doesn't want to bend, and it naturally is going to spring back a little bit. So you have to overcompensate, so it actually bends it slightly more than 32.5. That way when it comes back, but you do have to adjust different pipes, and sometimes even just in a single piece of pipe, you can have variances. And once again, like I said, go check out that video and you'll see what I'm talking about. So now the next thing is how you make this a left or a right. This bend is going to be the same because your seam you want on the inside of that 90 degree that's facing the wall. Now what determines a left or right is if I rotate that up or if I rotate that down. And I'll take this little torpedo level here, which is amazing. This came from Home Depot. It's Empire, probably one of the best you can get. It's like a billet aluminum, and one of my favorites. And then that determines a left or right, because then your next bend, your 32.5. So we've already got, I did the other one. This is so that's a right, so I need a left. So a right would be up like this. A left would be down. So I'm gonna get my little mark here pretty close. Go ahead and get my block over, and then what I do is I just take my little torpedo, I take my torpedo level, put it on here, and then I just plumb this little 90 degree piece. Get that plumb, snug it up. Tighten it and double check it, because yep, it does move. Oh, it goes the wrong way. Sometimes you have to overcompensate and actually set it a little off, because what will happen is when it tightens up, it'll actually pull. There we go, dead on. So I'm good now. So I've got this plumb that determines, once again, my left or right. This is a left. The right, your 90 degree piece will be sticking up here, and you would plumb it up here just like you did down there. So now I'm ready to make my bend, and then we'll flip it over and do the other side. What I like to do is go ahead and get my next bend set, because sometimes you can forget. So I'm gonna make a 90 with a 9.5 spring back on the next bend, and that's gonna be on the other side. So Once again, we'll be doing the exact same thing, but you have to. So we're gonna do the exact same thing. The only difference is we have this piece down here at the other end. You can see right down there that, oh, I'm not here, I'm there. So that piece right there, we have to put a level on that, because if not, these two pieces won't line up. And you'll see what I mean in just a minute. So what we have to do, get this flush on the end. That's all that matters. We don't need to even pay attention to the seam, because I know that bend is right. So loosen this all the way up. Get that in there and get it just snug. You don't want to tighten it, you won't be able to turn it. Just snug enough to hold it. And I'm gonna come down here and just put my level on this piece. Once again, you kind of have to overcompensate. Sometimes it'll want to pull, especially being down this far. It's nice to have two people, but it's actually pretty simple to figure out once you do a couple of how to fudge them one way or the other. Like I say, you just want that just tight enough. I can still turn this and get it set so I'm level there.
Let's see if this can stay. Looks like I can see the bubble from here. Yeah, it's off just a little bit. I just have to overcompensate so it pulls it back. Still flush here. So pull it
back. I just overcompensated just a little bit. Once again, we're 90 degrees. So this bend, the 90 is going to match that. They're both going the same direction. That's why I don't have to pay attention to the seam. I know it's facing away from me like I want it. Once again, once you see that yellow, you know it's complete. Pop this off, make sure you push this, because if this catches, it's going to swing your whole tube away from you and make a mess. All right, once it's done, go ahead and get your degree, 32.5, which is the next bend, 7.5 spring back, and you're set. Now you know the next bend. You just make a habit of that, and that way you know. You don't get all set up and all of a sudden you hit it and you realize you're supposed to be doing a 32.5 and you're still on a 90. So I've got my I got my mic here. I got my mark here. That's my 16. And then I'm gonna get that close and then I'm gonna rotate it. Let's see, I need to go down. This is a left-handed rail. We'll get it close there, slide this over, same thing. You just want it close enough. Get close to your mark and then just tight enough just to hold it. Come back over here again on this side, and we're gonna plumb this one. Tighten it up and see if it holds. Nope, pulled a little bit. Went back the other way actually. Good to go. Once again, I know my mark's there, I can see that. And then I'm plumb here, which means I'm plumb down there because I've already made that bend. I'm 32.5, just glance at it, double check it. Always better to double check because I've bent it wrong. You bend that wrong, you got the whole rail screwed up and you're gonna either be cutting this apart, making a new one, or starting over. So good to go on that. Plumb on this side. There we go. Hit my yellow. I'm gonna reverse, pop this off, keep a little pressure on that so it doesn't kick out on me, and then we're done. So you can kind of see now we do have a couple other steps to this, but what I like to do, and this will tell me whether my bends are right, so I can see this, it's rocking just a little bit. It's not bad enough to worry about it. If you somehow got off this bend and that bend were twisted and it got off, which it does, unfortunately, no matter how many times you level it, especially if you get super long ones like 20 footers, we do a lot of, and they get off, so they get a little twisted. Sometimes you can fudge it and kind of, you know, have a little off down there, a little off down here, and it's okay, you never see it. But sometimes it's off, like it may be rocking really bad. You have to come in here somewhere, and you'll actually have to just cut it open, and then actually have to rotate the pieces, put a piece of angle on here, straighten them up, weld it back up, and that fixes the problem. They're simple to fix. It's not a big deal. So if you're doing this and you're new to it, and you get these off and something's not plumb, and it rocks when you put it on a flat surface, and you put it on a concrete floor, you don't have to have a big work table. You can just put it on a concrete floor, and as long as it doesn't rock any more than that, you're fine. But if it rocks really bad, then like I said, just come in here and cut it, twist the pieces to make it right, and tack it back together. So this is a left-handed rail, and you can see just with it laying down like that, this is the bottom where it bends and goes up, and then gets to the top step and bends and goes that way. So I'm going to measure right here from center of bend, and I've got actually just a smidgen over it. So from center of bend, which is where it hits the concrete, I've got 12.5, and then it's going to be exact same thing on top. So like I said, by code, you want 12 inches from the bottom step out, and you want 12 inches from the top step out. This one you'll have plenty because it goes, like I said, all the way down to the concrete, so you'll have way more than 12 extension, you know, past the bottom step. But your goal is you want all of this to be 36 inches off of your nose tread of your step. So when you measure up from the nose tread here, which when I say nose tread, that's the corner of the step. When you measure straight up in a vertical line to the top of this, you'll want 36 inches. Your goal is always 36. You have 34 to 38. But like I said, we always try to shoot in the middle. That way, if it needs to be fudged one way or the other, you've got a little room to play. So that's the goal there. And then the next thing is going to be to take these pieces here. These will get marked. Your space behind this for us, 1.5 inches. That's using these brackets here. We get these from 2 different places. They come from either Wagner, W-A-G-N-E-R. You can Google that. Super nice products. This is where these came from. And then we also get them from, I think I've got from King Metal. We get a lot from King Architectural Metals. I can't remember if I've gotten these from there or not. But these are a 1/4 inch plate. These are super nice. This sets right in the center of this tube. So if I lay this here and it's on a piece of 1.5 inch square tubing like that, this will go here and it'll set right in the center and get welded on. That's the very last thing we do. We'll get 2 on each one. You have 1 here and then 1 at that end. So you'll have 2 brackets. I think that'll be enough. We'll try. Sometimes you need more, so I'll see, because I usually come about 6 inches from the bend on each end, and I think we'll be okay. I don't think that's going to be too long. You just want to make sure they're sturdy and don't have any flex in them. So if it needs another bracket, we'll put another bracket on. But these, like I said, these came from Wagner. These are, I'm going to say roughly $3 a piece, and then you got to ship them. So we order usually like 30 or 40 at a time, depending on what we got going on. Sometimes more than that. But and it does, I think you can get a discount, like King Architectural Metals, both of those, I think you can get a discount if you buy in bulk. So all right, so next thing is we're going to cut these off. This is going to get cut, and the way this works, the 1.5 inch space here, and then you've also got, like I said, these caps here that go on the end, so you have to factor that 1/8 inch in, and so that gives us 2 7/8. So we need to mark here with a framing square. We'll mark it. I'll show you right here. I've got the my pipe stand set up with a clamp. I'll clamp this on there, and I'll take a framing square and get that marked out and show you how we mark it and cut it with the porta band. So like I was saying, this gets cut off. This is your extra that is required to make the bends, because if I was to try to cut, shorter, I wouldn't have enough. So a lot of this gets cut off, and this is going to dead into the wall. So this space back here is where, just imagine my arm is a wall There's 1.5 inches from the back side of the pipe rail to the wall. And so you need to factor in that 1/8 inch as well. So we're gonna put this framing square on here and just take a Sharpie and mark. That number is 2 7/8 for us. Like I said, that may change for you depending on which bracket you're using. And this line right here I'm drawing is going to run parallel with this pipe. And that's also what I'm going to use as a reference with this portaband. A lot of people struggle with cutting straight with a portaband, and it is tough, but I prefer this much rather than taking a cutoff wheel or something like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually hold this up, and I can look through the saw and actually line my blade here up with the edge of this and get it extremely close.
So that's extreme. Same thing, just the opposite end, squared up. And it helps when you make your line if you can make a really good straight line and eyeball that to see if it's parallel, because then you can kind of follow that with the blade. It just makes it that much easier. But once again, I'm going to line this up. Alright, so that's 2, that's our left and right for our 77s. We're going to do our 2 others.
Have you ever seen something so fancy? So, this is from a company called Bocomo FR. If you can read the little label there. This is a fire rated shirt. This is an extra large. I'll have to kind of test out. They sent me 2 of these. They actually reached out to me. I'm listening to music here, so I'm gonna turn it off. So they actually reached out through social media and said, hey, would you be interested in some of these shirts? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, absolutely. And man, like, I mean, this is even my colors, like not blue, but the orange. And it fits really good. I fluctuate between a large and extra large. So it really depends, you know, kind of how they run, but this is extra large. It feels about normal. So I'll put a link down in the description, and you guys can go check them out. But man, this thing is freaking awesome. Like I don't even want to do any work and get it dirty. This thing, it just, man, it feels really good. It's comfortable. So only time will tell, you know, as far as how they hold up. But I will say, I mean, usually I wear these, which are like these are Dickies from Walmart. They last a pretty good while. They're 20 bucks. No, they're not probably fire rated FR shirts, but they last a pretty good while. What you have to be careful of is when you're grinding. So if you're grinding at table level and you're hitting here a lot at your stomach, that's when they get burnt up. But I've got a leather apron I throw on for that. So, but that was pretty cool of Bocomo to reach out. I'm pretty excited about it. It's our first kind of collaboration, and we actually already have another one that you'll be seeing soon with some tools that we just got. So this is pretty cool. A little long. I mean, I'm tall. I'm 6 or 6'1" and about 230. So this is it's a little long, but that's all right. I don't know what it looks like. I haven't looked at it in the mirror. I literally just undid it and put it on. So we'll try it out. The sleeves don't move. They're nice and long, so they don't, you know, pull up when you stick your arms out. They're all buttons, which I like. They're snap buttons. They're not like regular buttons. A lot of times on the Dickie shirts I wear, I have a tendency to the buttons catch, or they'll catch a spark or something. They fall off or burn off because they got threads. There's no threads on any of this stuff. So you got some pockets. And they got all kind of stuff. They've got pants, shirts. They sent me another one too. It was more of like a, I don't think you'd want to wear it welding. It was just a pullover long sleeve shirt. It's got a pocket on it. It's got the Bocomo FR patch on the side, and it's a pretty cool shirt. So I'll have that one in some videos too. But thanks again to Bocomo. You guys are you make some awesome stuff. So we'll try it out. I know some guys that use these already, and we'll see how they do. They I want to say these shirts are in the $40 range, which is a lot cheaper than some of the ones I've seen. I know like Ariat, Wrangler, those guys, man, they're like $75, $80 a piece. So if these hold up, if they hold up as good as they look, we're in good shape, because they look awesome. I don't know if you'll be able to tell from the video, but so we're gonna go ahead and get these welded up. We got the Miller 255 set up, and I'm just gonna tack these on, buzz these 4 around. I'll flip them over, do the others, and I'll grind them all at the same time. Tacked. And by the way, we are set up as an affiliate for Bocomo now, so you can actually get a discount. We have a discount code, Matco Mafia, MATTCO Mafia, and that's all one word, no spaces, no dashes, nothing. When you go to their website, I'll put a link in the bio below, the description. You can see all of their stuff. They have pants, shirts, long sleeve, button up, cargo pants, jeans, all kind of stuff. And so you can go over there, you can use that Matco Mafia, get a discount, and get you some FR rated gear. So I'm gonna weld these up, and then we'll flip them around and do the other side. All right, guys, there you have it. There's 4 wall mount rails. And when you go to a commercial or industrial building or movie theater, you'll see them everywhere. As you see, these 2 here, they're exactly the same thing, just one left, one right. So this here is a left hand. As you can see, the brackets, the spaces on the back side there, so they're setting up off the concrete when you walk up the rail, and then it turns and flattens out. This one here is a right hand. So there you go, wall mount rails. Pretty simple, but at the same time kind of complex. Multiple bends on each, different angles, got 90s on the end. Then you have your 30, 32 and a half, 32, whatever it may be. That's gonna be something you have to determine by putting an angle finder on your steps. And we use this one right here. This is a Johnson. I'm pretty sure I got this also from Home Depot. just a digital angle finder. You use this, you can put this on the steps, on the nose, take this and put it on it, and it's gonna read whatever the angle is. We also have a video that we did a while back about how to find the angles on handrails and stairs. So go back and check that out. It'll all link together. So thanks guys for watching. If you haven't, subscribe, hit the alarm so you get notifications when we put up new stuff. You'll see we've done some shorts here lately, just trying to get some stuff out there. And if you guys have any questions, please comment and let me know what you think. And we'll see you on the next video.